that's why it kind of goes back to my point of this idea that you're only street if you kill a motherfucker or you'll serve some dope. I think that's a real short-sighted from outside of the club looking through the window way to look at the streets is full of so many different characters that are finding their way through. And so I do think that we should have the streets as a central protagonist of hip hop, but I just think being thinking that streets means anti-intellectual is insulting to me. Like
One
and
million percent.
like I don't
Hmm.
know where that comes from because the streets has some of the smartest people, whether they went to school for a semester and dropped out or two, or didn't go. Sometimes they are the professors. Sometimes a
Nipsey.
lot of these street dudes that never went into a college teach a class on the block, you just don't know it because you looking for an institution to tell you what's really teaching you something.
Hmm.
So I'm just really offended when people try to do that anti-intellectual. This is the
I,
street. We
I,
were
I
trying to
think I think we can cook this whole thing down. Like I agree across the board.
Mhm.
I think my start and stop point was, bro, lyricists come from everywhere. If they're
Okay.
dope putting the words together and they're dope with making the music, they come from all factions of life. Maybe you don't like the content, but for me, lyricist speaks to a very specific skill set when we're talking about rapping. If he's a lyricist, he's making everything dope. The double entendres, the wordplay, the metaphors, the similes. That's a skill set. And sorry, bro, we come from all over. Some of us ride skateboards. Some of us play basketball. Some of us, never go to school, but we got 9 to 5s. Like they're all kinds of lyricists and they're dope. Amir Ali out of Philly will talk that street shit and talk it with lyricism. Akeem Ali, what lyricist through and through, and don't talk a lot of street shit. So I took exception with that part. Like you're only allowed to be a lyricist if you're from the street, if you're talking street-ish. That
But I
bothered
think
me.
but I think L hit it right on the head, right? Like because as she was breaking it down to me, Good Kid, Mad City, and K Dot is a street guy. When you listen to it, right? Like like you said, you don't have to serve the dope. You don't have to be the main person, but being on the corner and witnessing makes you street. And I think that is what Sahai is saying, right? Like being a lyricist, yes, it is double entendre and how you can play with words, but how do you make it stick to something that we've seen, something that we could relate to, right? Like I think Rome Streets does an amazing job with that. There's a whole bunch of quote unquote street artists, you know what I'm saying, to varying degrees. And I also agree with you, Mecca, where you don't have to be from the street to be nice. However, this is why I agree with Saha. The majority of the people that we hail as some of the greatest have a percentage of that is relatable. That is relatable. Even like Kanye has lines, obviously most likely written by
The guy we're talking about.
himself, you know what I'm saying, or Consequence, you know what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, those things are relatable to what the core of what hip hop is. You know what I'm saying? And I think that the people that we prop up as the best all have some portion of that in their repertoire as an artist.
You know what's kind of funny is Sahai and La Russell seem to be making opposing points, but they may actually be making the same point. It's just different ways.
Out of my
Like-
mouth, I was just about to say that.
Like they're
Go ahead.
literally both talking about wanting to hear the substance in their raps. They just want substance in different ways, but they want it to be
Yeah.
Jeremy, I was about to say the same exact thing.
Final thoughts on J. Cole. Now, J. Cole, we've talked about him probably every week for the past 3 to 4 weeks. And I think that makes sense because without question, he is one of the biggest, most impactful artists in hip hop. Without question, he's one of the best lyricists there is. And without question, he is, in my opinion, one of the artists who is critical in terms of rounding out people's understanding and opinion on what hip hop truly is. And this project, The Fall Off, has received all kinds of reactions across the spectrum of positive reactions, people who are critical of it. And I think ultimately that just speaks to how important J. Cole is to so many people. for so many different reasons. And now we are a week after the release. We have the first week numbers in. J. Cole debuted at #1, did 290,000 first week, which is incredible. 1 second, applause to J. Cole. And so I also think it's a good opportunity to put sort of round out the thoughts that people have now that we've had a chance to sit with an hour, 40-minute project, 24 track.
I think it really showcased that you can drop a project with a lot of depth and it doesn't have to be an immediately positive reaction. You don't have to get it all right away. And I think we kind of forgot that. A lot of the biggest projects over the last few years have been kind of instantly gratifying. I would say GNX right off the bat, everyone was kind of like, yep, I get it. I love it. There's the reincarnated, the moments, like everyone kind of knew their favorite moment. Things grew on them over time, but I think we kind of got it. And that happened with a lot of our favorite albums. The Clips album, right away, everyone is like, this is incredible. It's concise. It's an amazing body of work. But I think what J. Cole proved is that, yes, it was an incredibly long album. There was a lot to get through. I saw, Dead End Hip Hop's review. I know it is a long album, and you probably could make this a very concise 12-song project. But I almost treat it as two separate projects that I dissect separately, that I listen to separately. And I think we got two amazing projects. Maybe one more stellar than the other, but having listened to it, having lived with it in the car, lived with it, in the gym, on walks, I think there's so much depth to J. Cole's storytelling and the picture he paints, specifically on disc 29. I think that's one of J. Cole's better projects. Currently, I have it at 2014 Forest Hills Drive, Friday Night Lights, and I have The Fall Off as number 3 total projects of J. Cole's catalog for me. And not only is it because he has some of the best rapping of his career on this album, specifically the last verse on disc 29, Hit the Gas, you have some of the best rapping. You also had some of the best rapping on Might Delete Later in the offseason, but to me, those projects didn't hit the same because I don't think there was the same emotional depth. And I think disc 29 gives you Cole going back to his hometown, dealing with where he was, how far he's come, the struggles of loving your hometown, but realizing you've maybe outgrown it.
Well, I went into it with a certain level of expectation. Number one, I wasn't sure if this was actually going to be his last album or if this was marketing that we were looking at. Maybe this is J. Cole's last album. And next thing you know, Jermaine comes back and he starts a whole new chapter and we're off to the races because everything's marketing. As far as just listening to the project, like you said, my first reaction to everybody was, there's no way you're digesting this within the first 24 hours that it came out. Whoever's telling you any kind of information, like whoever's giving you an in-depth, up close and personal take on this project within the first 10 hours of it dropping is cap. That's not how J. Cole writes. That's never been his style as far as albums are concerned. There's always going to be something crazy in depth. The rewind factor is always heavy because of the kind of MC that he is. So for you to tell me that you've digested this fast means you literally skimmed through it just trying to get the catch the wave and have the first thing to say. With that said, I thought it was really, really dope. I thought it was well put together. I am not a fan of long albums. I always feel like there's a place that you can cut something. There's always when an album goes that far, I always feel like there's fat. Especially at this point of your career, I know that there's the ability to say it more concise. So that's like a little, but that's a personal bone of mine.
Are we done with artists actually needing to go to media to tell their stories? If we see two artists back-to-back weeks successfully tell their story on their own. Like, to me, I said I was of the mind that J. Cole needs to tell his story somewhere, that he needs to go talk about what happened. And that's part of my expectation going into the album. I wanted to hear his mindset during the battle. Like, I don't know that we're ever going to get that. But he did successfully at least give us his mindset of like, where I was when I made this album, where I was when I made this album, here's how to listen to it. And then he gave us extra context after it dropped on Reddit and in these fan-to-fan interactions. Then you have Baby Keem he's not doing any media to my knowledge. I don't know that we'll even see an interview, but he is doing these documentaries and telling the story behind the project. So if we see the biggest artist in the world right now successfully kind of avoiding the media and still selling well, still telling the story, where does that leave the landscape to you guys when it comes to like the biggest artists in the world?
I think we've been there for a long time. You know, I think social media has been a gift and a curse for media in a number of different ways, right? I mean, DX used to have a strategy called stand on the shoulder of giants, right? We knew that if we said something positive about somebody, artists would retweet it. They'd share it. They'd be like, hey, look, these people like us, you know? Now, that was a long time ago. Artists realized quickly that exchange works more emphatically for us than it does for them. And so, but most of the biggest artists in the world don't really talk now. You know what I mean? Like, or they select the people they like to talk to or the outlets that they want to talk to. But I just think that this is more of a signal that Keem has leveled up and expectations have leveled up for him. You know what I mean?
But keep in mind, you're being very specific. My bad, King. You're being very specific. The biggest artist in the world. There are a lot of things that the biggest artists in the world are going to be able to do that the average, everyday, on the come up artists are not able to do. Right? Telling their stories. J. Cole, how many albums is this? Was brought into the business by Jay-Z on that. So you stood on that shoulder, the shoulders of that giant. And Baby Keem is Kendrick, like, again, a titan. So yeah, bro, the rules are different for them. You know, for those two specific guys. And sure, Beyonce does it, but you know, it's cheaper to do an interview with a notable, respectable outlet than it is to pump money into making your own documentary. You know, not everybody's going to be able to do one as opposed to the other. So there's still a very real need for media for the average Joe. But the biggest artists in the world, they've always been able to circumvent those processes.
And I don't even think it's the biggest stars in the world. I think we can knock that down a notch. I think, are you an established artist with a real fan base that you can monetize? Because if that's the case, then I just got to feed you. It doesn't, you know, and there's always all of these breakdowns of, if I get $100 from this amount of people, you can live life. And I think that that's what we're seeing, right? Like La Russell is one of the biggest examples of that. Currency is another big example of that. And those guys aren't on the same level as J. Cole, Beyonce, or the biggest quote unquote artists in the world, but they can do what they can maneuver in a different way because, like Nipsey said in back in the day, like, do you have power? Can you make things move? And those artists can, maybe not on a grand scale, but they don't need social media posts to get their engagement with their fan base because they're already tapped in.
I don't think that there's no such thing as an instant classic. Whenever I come into this mindset, I'm back in my source cubicle and I'm thinking 10 years from now, and you got to try to map the pathway.
Well, the source did that though. The source said, you know, Illmatic was a classic.
Yeah, but we had.
Source has named. I think the Blueprint. You guys give the Blueprint a classic over there.
Mina had months to sit with that Nas album. She was able to talk to every producer, and Nas was like a golden child that nothing we had ever seen before. And it was the first super producer album ever made. Everybody had. He got these super producers in the room and made an album. It was totally different time. There was no social media when she did that.
There's been at least 10 or 12 classics that came out after Illmatic, right? Blueprint was a classic. Lil Kim, Lil Kim got a classic out of the source. I'm not sure if that one held up, but that's another example.
She actually got two, and one of them really didn't hold up. So you know, again, it's not an exact science.
So is your answer damn, or are you saying that Clips fall short of what would be considered a classic if you have your source brain up?
I thought the Clips, the rollout was so crazy, it was easy to think that this could do it in a minute, but plus it was the reunion factor. There was like a lot of factors that added to the excitement. It was a dope album, but I think my safe bet is to probably stick with Damn.
Okay, cool.
I know that we're actually on the panel, but I wanted to add this. I got this from Trap. Shout out to Trap from ADHD. But we kind of separated. We realized that classics needed to be separated, and we ended up picking a generational classic, a regional classic, a sub overall classic. Because what we realized, people were using the word classic differently. And sometimes if you really narrow down what do people mean when they say classic, they're meaning different things. You could be, so we ended up with generational, regional, subgenre, and overall classic. So I think
Okay, so what's the last classic you heard then?
Samurai by Lupe Fiasco. I don't give a damn what nobody got to say about nothing. That's a exquisite project from front to back, storytelling, beats, rapping, Samurai.
I was gonna say, I feel like, to the point earlier of what does a classic feel like, Let God Sort 'Em Out felt like a classic. I still am of the mindset you need to usually give, 3 to 5 years. Some people give it 10 to like definitively say this stood the test of time. But I think that's the difference between, whereas I put The Fall Off as still my third favorite Cole album, it's below his 2 classic albums to me, which are 2014 Forest Hills Drive and Friday Night Lights, if we want to count the mixtapes. Like, those are 2 classics to me, undeniable. I think they've stood the test of time. The Fall Off felt like a really great album. It just didn't have that classic feel. And I can't fully put it into words. I think it is more of just this like intrinsic thing where it's like, but I think front to back being almost a flawless listen is one of those things. And I don't know that this was a flawless listen. I think Let God Sort 'Em Out, you hear and you're like, I wouldn't change anything. There's nothing I would even debate on.
No fat on it. Yeah.
No fat. It was concise. Like, it's hard to have a super lengthy classic too. That's another thing. It's possible. It's been done, right? But
it's difficult. It's difficult.
It's hard.
It's super difficult.
And then I would also put Alfredo up there. Was like first listen, second listen was like, wow, this feels like a classic. The Forever Story by Jid feels like a classic. The concept and stuff like that. So there's other projects that I think have done that recently, but the most recent to me is Clips.
Yeah, most recent to me, and I had to go back to some of these albums just to see when they were released. But like the moment I listened to it and I felt it and I kind of knew was To Pimp a Butterfly, man. Like that album, from the moment I listened to it, I'm like, this is Good Kid, Mad City on steroids. You know what I'm saying? And even though in that review, I was like, I wasn't really messing with the jazz and the feel and the vibe of it, but it's undeniable. And that's the last time I felt something that undeniable to that degree, where I'm like, okay, you may call me crazy today, but 5, 6, 7, and To Pimp a Butterfly has lasted that test of time. You can't tell me you can't play We're Gonna Be All Right now, today in 2026 or in 2046, and we're not gonna feel the type of way about that record.
Yeah, I mean, the last albums I felt that way about, Clips, 100%. I still feel that way about it. GNX, I think the conversation around GNX plus the hit rate on that project is going to carry conversations forward. Right? And when I'm describing what I'm describing, I'm not necessarily just describing how I feel about the music itself. But when I think of classic, there's a level of impact that comes along with that conversation, right? And I don't remember the last album in rap that had an impact the way GNX did. And that to me is definitely going to be there. Forever Story, 100%. I made a whole video called Built Like a Classic. And it feels, to me, it's the best project Jid's made. It's one of the best projects I've heard this century or this decade. But when I heard that album at that point in time, it was a point in time where I had no idea what even a classic would sound like in the mid or the early 20s, right? Because a lot of times there's just really good music that's really great, but when you have become an experienced listener at something, or when you have institutional knowledge for a long time in something, you've had these feelings at different levels, whether that's video games or an athlete, a basketball performance you're watching, you know what I mean? If it doesn't give you that same feeling, it's hard to really compare it or call it the same thing. And I think Forever Story feels like a classic when I listen to it, but in the landscape, I couldn't really call it. But that's the last one that made me sort of feel in that direction. And those were the last 3 times that I've had a feeling like that. You know what I mean? Like there's some stuff that you can see that, oh, this is just going to be one of those things. You know what I'm saying? Like Whole Lotta Red is like that. I'm like, oh, okay, this is something that's outside of me, but I am watching this and I can tell that in the future, this is a classic to a whole generation. right? You can watch a classic in motion a lot of times, even if you don't agree with the music. All right, so this is on the radar. And this is what I posted. I said, this is exactly how these should look in 2026, right? So this is on the radar. Now, this is a storied freestyle platform, freestyle platform at this point in time. And they've announced that they're doing their own freshman list, essentially, right? This is their new class cipher. And so they're anointing, essentially, their view of the 10 most exciting MCs, rappers to come out this year, right? And so they've selected Chris Patrick, Marlon Craft, Ray Vaughn, Nason, Ruben Vincent, Lareezy, Marco Plus, Overcast, Ben Riley, and Suave, right? And I think this is fire, right? If I am someone who's looking to see what new artists I need to be excited about, if I was sitting alone in my crib right now, just trying to put together a list of off top, who might those people be? 7, 8 of them are on this list, right? And I feel like this is a great example of a platform who has been dedicating itself to independent artists largely, in my opinion, and who's now putting it together and marketing some of the talent that's come through. And I also look at this and I say, Double XL dropped the ball. Because for the past few years, the big conversation around Double XL has been, who are these rappers y'all are telling us are going to be the next one? And the reaction to this one has been unanimous. People have been like, exactly, yes, this is what we need, right? And if we're in the era now where we're more interested in what rappers have to say or how they're saying things, you know, this type of list is, I think, representative of those conversations. Would love to have you guys open floor. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean,
I
these
think
are
they
guys.
did it right. Go ahead, Trevor.
I was just gonna say these are guys that I've been championing the last couple of years, and a lot of these people I do believe will be around 5-10 years from now. It's funny because we were talking about the classic feeling, and I think people on this list are creating projects that are inching towards the classic feeling, and I think we'll get classic projects, whether it's mixtapes or albums, from like 3 or 4 of these people within the next 2 years. And I truly stand by that. I believe that. They always used to joke on the show that on the bigger picture, that my spotlight was Chris Patrick every single week. But it's truly because I think a lot of these guys have the potential to take over. And I think like even people not on this list, you know, shout out to like Mark Lux is a guy I really believe in who dropped a dope project recently. You have a Samara Sin, you know, Win. You have Foggy Raw. Like there's a lot of Party of Two. There's a lot of people that I really, really believe in that have this same care to the art and most importantly, care to the bars. And I'm really excited to see where this goes. And I'm excited for the cypher, honestly, more than anything. I'm just excited to hear the bars. But they did a great job. And I think, especially to your point of Double XL, where Double XL kind of failed is rather than starting the convo, they were following the convo the last few years. They're like, well, this is what people are listening to. These are the guys that are popping. These are the people that have the Instagram followers. Let's put them on this list, rather than being like, no, this is our standard of what the cypher is going to be. This is what our standard of what a freshman should look like in terms of how they can rap, lyricism. Like it's cool to do what they did. They basically did the hottest list, right? But that was like, you know, a different list. They were supposed to kind of be the top MCs list, but now we have like the true like new class of MCs list that On the Radar Shot to Gabe Pete did.
I think On the Radar fucking cooked. Y'all cooked. Whoever idea this was, give them a raise. We've been needing this for a while. I think they're very validated in being the new organization to give us this list, seeing as though, you know, freestyles and the content that we get from them. So I appreciate it. The list is 50-50 to me. I know, I'm sorry. I always got to be the hater. I would have liked to see like Any. I would have liked, of course, Samara. I would have definitely liked to see like a Kai Cash.
Kai Cash, yeah.
I wonder, like, did you have to have a On the Radar freestyle to qualify for this list? So then my marketing mind is going, dang, is now doing an On the Radar freestyle almost like submitting, you know, like the way you got to submit for a Grammy in a way. It's like, I got to submit On the Radar freestyle so that we can even be in the consideration for the new class cipher. But I didn't look it up. I also jokingly wonder how many of these people dropped out of college. Okay, I'm not gonna do it. But
And we're back.
then we're back. But I think it's a fire idea. I can't wait to see the cipher. And it's about 50-50. Like I really like Overcast. Rayvon, big fan. So, I'm excited about it. But yes, they definitely needed at least one woman. Like, come on now, who's in?
I wonder if this is if like when volume 1 means this is the first year, or if it means there's going to be 3 or 4 volumes of this new class too. So I'd be interested to see if there's more.
Or are we too far away from the streets dictating the best lyricists being looked at as people who come from the streets? Open floor, anybody's reaction to this? I'm with it.
It has been such a long time since I've had such a multifaceted hate for somebody's comment like this. It's like I hate it in so many. It's like a prism of hate of this comment.
Good Lord.
It's really interesting. It's like it's almost a ball. It's so many faces on it, but it's hypocritical in so many ways. One, the college dropout shit is hilarious. Like it's like a self-own. Like it's like he shot himself. But this idea that smart niggas, that smart, educated academics is opposite from the streets. I am so tired of this anti-intellectualism when it comes to the streets. There's this misconception that if you in the streets, I guess you're a fucking idiot. And we really need to clean that up, even with comments like this, and then also a straight A student that dropped out. That don't make no fucking sense. Why did he drop out if he was a straight A student? Like, you sure he wasn't failing or whatever? And then I kind of looked back at some of the lyricists, like I separated them into like different classes on like different 10-year models. We've never had a time where the lyricists, and so I'm wondering, are you actually talking about the lyricists? Which I think you are, because you're sci-high. It's never been a time when we had like a shitload of anti-intellectual lyricists. I would love to hear the people that he's talking about that he's gonna say is street, but not lacking the capability to have straight A's and drop out of college. Like the shit was annoying. It didn't make any sense, and it also was hate. So I hated on the hate. I feel like it was hate.
A prism of hate.
I don't think that's what he's meaning, right? Because and I think the college dropout shit that is freaking hilarious, right? Like some of the best work that Sahai has written has been on the college dropout and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. But okay, so let's separate this a little bit, right? Like Kanye is an outlier. Kanye's a genius, regardless if he dropped out of college or not. Musically, he's a genius. So that's that. In terms of the statement of like too many scholastic kids being, in hip hop and the real lyricists being street guys, I think that you can have lyricists that weren't street guys, right? Like I don't think it's a criteria or a rite of passage that you had to be a street guy to be a lyricist first and foremost, right? So let's not take that out of context. But I agree with him where some of the best lyricists that we have that we relate to with the stories are people that came from the street, right? Like DMX is somebody that everybody, when he dropped, or the majority of people, because I got a homie that can't stand DMX. Shout out to BZ430. Like,
how's that view from under the bus?
Man,
that was raw.
BZ's got a tough day.
Hey, but like to me, DMX, right? Like he's somebody that was extremely passionate, one of the best lyricists that we had in hip hop, and he was 100% street. Jadakiss, Jay-Z, right? Like we have all of these people, and not saying that you can't be Kanye, even though sometimes you don't always write all your own rhymes. Yeah, I think there's space for everybody, but I do feel him where it feels like hip hop is watered down. Like when I go to my Apple Music or Spotify and it shows me everybody that then dropped, right? I've been doing this for the last 2 years now. I'll go through and skim, especially like if it's start or whatever, because I want to be put onto what's new, what's happening, because I know what I like. My palette, I done curated that. I know exactly when this person drop. I already have my whole thing set up, right? So, but I need to know what's new, like what. And when I listen to these, I'm just like, bro, what is this? Like, what is going on? So I think that with the advent of the internet, being able to record yourself on your own laptop, doing this, it waters down hip hop. Like hip hop is watered down holistically, even though we have great artists in it. But that's the reason why we have Culture United. That's the reason why we got Dead in Hip Hop. That's the reason why we have these things to kind of sift through that, to let you know, hey, this is super dope. Hey, go check this out if you like this style of hip hop, this, that, and the third. So I feel where Sahai's coming from. I don't think he's all the way wrong.